It's so beautiful here.
Thank you.
Yeah, these little pods. So what are we standing next to?
Well, these are pods that we built a few weeks ago because we wanted a space for people when they arrive to our location. They can sit down, have a little drink, and really kind of ease into the experience. And then before we go to the supper. And
Yeah, because we are literally arriving here on a farm. Explain where we are right now.
Exactly. So this is a nonprofit organization, and it's called Les Cocagnes. And we have a mission which is to give access to land to not just young farmers, but especially small farms. It's a 40-acre piece of land, and we're dividing it right now between 3 farms, but we want to go up to 7 or 8 farms eventually. And so that's our mission. But then to finance that mission, we do agritourism, and one of the first activities we've developed is farm-to-table events, so table champêtre.
Why? Why would you develop that as a priority?
Well, because it's a way to develop a relationship between farmers, chefs, and the general public. So it's a really
Eaters.
Eaters, which is pretty much everyone, I guess.
Absolutely.
So we have the weekend events, table champêtre, which are 5-course events with paired with wines, etc. But we also have during the week family-oriented events on Tuesday evenings, which are les apéros champêtres. So sometimes we serve artisanal pizzas, and sometimes there are pop-ups with other chefs that come, but really in the spirit of small plates to share, and kids can run around. It's really another atmosphere. We want the community to feel welcome all the time here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
you said something that I haven't heard very often, not just for the Quebec agricultural scene, but Canada's agricultural scene as well. You said this is land owned by a non-for-profit. Tell me a little bit about that.
In agriculture, it's very rare. Actually, they don't really know what to do with us, like a MAPAC or a financière agricole. When we call them, they don't have a box for us yet. So we exist in a kind of a gray zone, which can make it a bit complex to develop a project such as this. But the objective is for the rent to be as low as possible for the farm, so they can really make a revenue that is logical for the size of their team and for the type of work they do, without having all this financial debt and that most of the farms are dealing with. And also, since there are many farms on the same piece of land, there's actually a community that develops around that, and they can help each other. There's a lot of psychological distress amongst farmers too, so we're working on both of those fronts, as much collaborating, sharing equipment, and sharing the land.
Can you give me a specific example of that?
Well, there's all kinds of different examples. First of all, very concrete, they bought some equipment together. So they knew they needed the same equipment, they decided to buy it together, and they share it. Very simple. Other times, let's say there's a huge rainfall like we're having today,
yeah.
And one part of the land is a bit lower than the other. Maybe it gets quite wet, or there's a bit of an inundation. Inundation,
yeah,
is that how you say in English?
Sure.
And then maybe they go help make a trench or something. So very simple things, or just exchange insights. Some people have been at it a bit longer, and so they understand how to take time for themselves, and that they really need to do that for to last, because it's very tiring. So they've really developed schedules that are quite light compared to other farms.
Okay.
Like a real 8 to 4 schedule.
Really?
And so yeah, because I think this is what I think. I'm not sure this is the reason, but because we give advantageous conditions for them to settle, well, then they can relax more into their project. They still have a lot of work to do, but it allows them to really plan for the things that are important. And we do some marketing too around this project, and then there's cross-marketing that happens, and so they maybe put less effort, or they need to put less energy into advertising. So I think there's all positives when you collaborate that happen.
It sounds like a cooperative model, but then again, it's not.
Well, I think we're going to probably move towards that more and more. Nonprofit was a lighter kind of model to start with and to really develop the project. Sometimes when there's a lot of people around the table, it's hard to get a clear vision. So I want to put that clear vision in place. and then have the first farm settle, and more we're going to share, governance and everything. So it's going to develop through time.
So here, this might be an odd question to ask, but this is a non-for-profit model, but clearly someone owns the land. So how was that how did that conversation start?
The nonprofit owns the land. We did a huge community bond campaign in 2020 where we were able to gather up to $650,000 from community bonds. So they're loans, basically, from the general public. And they're what we call in French capital patient. So we don't pay back capital or interest until the term, which means that we had some space to build the project, to build the model before we refinance the whole project. So that was quite an innovation. There's not so many community bonds up to now in Quebec. I think in the rest of Canada it's a bit more known, and in the United States too. But here it was quite new, and it was, at the time we did it, it was the biggest campaign that had been done up to then. So
$650,000 to buy this land.
Well, it was more like $550, but then we had some startup costs that we had to cover too. So we did that in the same campaign with different types of bonds, and so it was really quite a big achievement in very little time. But it was the beginning of the beginning of the pandemic, and there were so many conversations around local agriculture and agriculture de proximité. And so I don't think we could do that again. What happened at that time, how many people pitched in, there was really a feeling of emergency about being able to sustain ourselves. I think now, with recession and everything, people are looking more really at the price of their basket instead of buying purely local. But that theme will probably arise again very soon because, I think it's a basic need.
So we're here in Frelighsburg. Why here in particular? Because it was already a farm, or you built it from the ground up?
No, we built it from the ground up. There was already a barn here. There were horses a while ago. But we really had to, I don't know how to say, défricher, take trees out and rocks and everything and do the drainage. And so we did a lot of work on the land. It wasn't a farm already. Frelighsburg is just an amazing place. It's in Brome-Missisquoi, super dynamic community. So it is a rural community, but it's very welcoming and dynamic and energetic, and we gravitated towards it, and there's just beautiful landscapes, as we can see from here.
It's amazing. So beautiful. It smells so nice. Wildflowers all around us. You're greeting us with a nice cocktail. I can't believe I'm about to live this adventure, especially in the cuisine of Fisun Ercan. Hello, Fisun. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Yes, I'm well. What inspired you to say yes when Les Cocagnes reached out and asked you to participate in their project?
Well, they're first non-profit organization, and the site is unbelievable, and all they are trying to do, it's very inspiring. And I am doing it in very small scale, so obviously anything comes like that, it's an opportunity for me to explore and also share my understanding about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And your culinary signature as well. I noticed during the meal that you didn't hide your Turkish roots. You put them forward, but at the same time, you had the opportunity to discover new food.
Always. I mean, the cooking is all about discovering new things, I believe, and it's new things, new ways to cook it. And the most important thing is doing this to be sustainable. Makes sense for everything we do, even more now.
Do you think that a project like this is pertinent in our current cultural landscape and food landscape in Quebec?
100%. I mean, cooking from locally, ethically grown food, and we don't. I mean, it's some kind of sovereignty. Food being. Autonomy. I mean, it's everything what we need, and I believe in Quebec it's going even faster than anywhere in the planet. At least what I see, I feel. Hopefully it is. And yes, definitely.
How are you doing? How's Bika doing? Because you operate small-scale farm-to-table in Saint-Jean-sur-le-Richelieu. How is the season going so far?
Our season is going really great, actually, this year. Well, there are ups and downs of the weather, obviously, but we adapt. And then everything is going great. People keep coming, and we keep going, cooking and farming and cooking at the same time. But we are really, really small, especially when I see this. But I couldn't imagine for myself. I'm really happy to go to my garden, get few vegetables and cook. And that also identifies who I am and how I want to cook.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Everything is just under my hand, and I don't have to think about what kind of technique, what kind of recipe. I just want to cook what I have.
What do we wish you for the future, Stephanie?
Well, I really hope we'll take the importance of local agriculture seriously, but it's going to become an increasingly important issue. And I hope we support local farms, especially small farms, because they really put a lot of love into what we eat, and I think we can feel that.